Okay, so how are you all? I wanted to make this video earlier, but couldn't get time for it. So, Christopher Nolan is right now being hated by like crazy by people, and they are saying that many videos are there. They are saying that Christopher Nolan is over, or Christopher Nolan means Odyssey. The Odyssey will be the downfall of Christopher Nolan. Okay, so I find it completely baseless. First of all, let me start with the start. Like, Christopher Nolan deserves criticisms, although he is one of the best filmmakers right now, and I will say I have loved many of his movies: The Prestige, Oppenheimer, of course Dunkirk, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception. I liked it, but then there are some movies like the prominent being Interstellar and some parts of Oppenheimer itself, which are just so superfluous that he cannot be considered the greatest of all time. Like, not even the greatest of this generation. It's Paul Thomas Anderson, or if not Paul Thomas Anderson, you can say Denis Villeneuve. But still, he makes movie better than 99.99% people on this planet, and he understands the love of movies. Like, he first of all is just obsessed with filmmaking, and he loves that, and he wants to bring people to theaters, have like big events. I really admire that. His obsession with IMAX, I love that thing. But right now he's getting criticism. The criticism first started with the costumes and the lights and the whole art direction of his movie Odyssey, upcoming movie Odyssey. It started with that, and people showed the real pictures of how the Greek armors used to look like, how their ships used to look like. And honestly, some of the pictures that I saw, especially the Greek armors, they look very, very glowy, and unfortunately right now people don't like that kind of glow in the movies. People, if you see even the movie Dune, it's more, the tone is somber, serious, the art direction is minimalistic. It's nothing not like the Dune 1984, and that is happening in every movie, even the Star Wars movies. The art direction, the lighting has changed. So Christopher Nolan had to make that choice. I think that he has to make things look aesthetic to the zeitgeist, in the times of the present. So that's why he has those armors that look very very natural to today's today. What we think about it would have looked today. The Greek used to wear very means like reddish, brownish, goldish kind of armors, but they did not think at that time that in 2020s, 2010s, the Hollywood filmmakers and the whole world filmmakers would not prefer that color. That the color today that has been liked more is darkish, is that is more aesthetic, that is more pleasing to the eyes right now. So you cannot really blame that guy on that. And the same thing about the environment. I was again watching another video on YouTube in which the lady was saying that it would not have looked awful if this dark, gloomy, there is no sun up there in that, in the frame. It feels like they are in Nordic country. It feels like they are in Norway or Sweden. It would not have looked bad if it had looked a little bit gluey, little bit glowy, like the Greek mythology. But again, I don't know how it would feel, because since, like, I think Avengers 1 and 2, all the main frames, all the main movies, they have had, like, they've been shot in the evening time. All the main, even the Infinity War, like, they had that means the fight scene in Wakanda in the sunlight. But all the main Hollywood movies, they have been in this kind of, like, like dimmish light, so he has to follow the route. He cannot really, like, go beyond, like, he cannot really do something crazy. Well, but now we come to the real criticism. Like, I did, like, till now in this video I have defended him for being, like, he has to have that kind of environment, and the dresses and the costumes, those kind of dialogues. It will look like that throughout the movie, like, like his framing, the way things will happen in the movie. It will all look like that. But now let me come to the criticism that I find some of it is valid and some of it is a little bit not. And the first criticism is, like, the most important thing is, like, the casting. Right now everybody is ripping the movie apart because of their casting choices. Like, the first one that was exposed to me was Lupita Nyong'o's Athena. No, is she playing? Oh, she's playing Helen of Troy, and she has been completely ridiculed by trolls on internet, mod like crazy, troll like crazy by people on, like, all the social media. They have made AI videos about her, that she doesn't look like the one, for whom there will be a war or something. And I on this thing cannot say anything, like, means for some people she is really beautiful and some people do not find her beautiful. It's just, and beauty is just a perspective, like, we cannot just say that. Now, should she have been European? Do Greek people having a movie about them deserve to have a European woman, like, a woman that looks like them play Helen of Troy? And I will say partially yes, but at the same time, I'm not really that kind of an expert to go and check what was the composition in a mythology of, like, white and black people. And so I'm just not ready for that. I'm just not really that much into their history, that were there any black people around during that time in those kind of areas of Greece, and should it be considered a part of their mythology too? So I'm not aware about that. But if at that time when these things were written, and if at that time when these things are imagined, the Greek mythology is imagined, if Greece was all full of, like, white people, like fair-skinned European people, then they do deserve to have a European actress, like, playing them, like a fair-skinned European actress playing them if they want it, and they are justified in that. But then, what else was there? One is Athena and that is played by Zendaya. and people don't like it. People want a fair-skinned European girl to play her too, and I would say I do not know, because she, and if you think about Zendaya, one of her parents is white, fair-skinned European, and she is herself a brownish girl, and she looks exceptionally beautiful. She's one of the most beautiful girls working right now in Hollywood. So I'm not sure if Christopher Nolan has made a bad choice in putting her as Athena. And the final one being Elliot Page as Achilles. Now, this is crazy. This is this is crazy that people are really angry that he is a trans person who is playing Achilles. But the thing is that today we are living in this world, and there are trans people in this world, and what if we think like that, so today in this world this world has all kinds of people, and I think Christopher Nolan thought that. But what if this guy who is Achilles, Elliot Page, if he doesn't look and feel like Achilles in the movie, then it would be a huge disservice. There I agree completely. If he is playing Achilles, then he must look like Achilles. Otherwise, it will be a huge disservice. Okay. So Achilles is one place. Now I'm going to just tell a little bit about why do I think that why do I really think that they even went with this? I think Christopher Nolan decided to have this kind of a cast was because of his movie Oppenheimer. And in his movie Oppenheimer, and most of his movies, if you remove Tenet, which I really liked, the main hero in Tenet was an African American guy, and in Interstellar there is of course one side guy who is an African American. Then there is of course but Inception is I think all white. So I think he might have read somewhere on internet that somebody might have told him that his cast is very European, non-Euro, very fair-skinned cast, and all his heroes are white or something. So that's why he decided to probably mix it up. That is one of my reasons that I think that that is the only reason I think that is possible, that he thought of. Other thing is that he might have watched Lupita Nyong'o in some movie, and he might have told her that if there is a role for you, I will definitely put you, or something like that. But Zendaya deserves to be there. Zendaya is awesome, and means there's no saying about it that Zendaya doesn't deserve to be there. And now another thing that I will say is about Matt Damon. His era is now gone. He comes in movies, but to give him a movie as important as this one is just a little bit off. They, but I don't know who else, if not Matt Damon, then who else would have played this role that well. Um, but yeah. But yes, he is definitely. But other than that, I would say that Christopher Nolan, this is his first movie that is like historic, and let's see how does he play the non-linear thing. Like in Oppenheimer, he was able to have three different timelines of people, things happening in which like there are three different tensions being built, and it's all going in flashback, and the real story, the real thing in that movie was about Oppenheimer getting his respect back. That was the thing. So it really played well. But now let's see what he does. Now let's see what they do with this movie. Let's see how they play with this movie now. It will be fun to watch. It will also be great if they just don't do that non-linear storytelling. If the editing is not like that it's going in different timelines. But I think what will happen is that it will have those three different, there will be one story of Tom Holland, Telemeters, and I think another one will be of course Odysseus. And I think these kind of stories will be there, and they will be going on, and I think that's how it will be. Their struggles will be independent, and that's how I think he's going to build it in this place. So yeah, I think it's going to be great, man. It's going to be a great movie. I think so. There's no reason to think it's not, because Oppenheimer, even if I did not like it that much, means because of some of my ideas of what it should have been like, and what they actually made it they actually made it a very movie that they tried to build a lot of tension in the movie, which was not supposed to be there in Oppenheimer. Means that will he win it or not, and then they turn, of course, Robert Downey Jr. becomes a villain, and his acting was fabulous. He is just a phenomenal actor without any question, and he deserved he deserved an Oscar. He's the best. Robert Downey Jr. He was just phenomenal in that movie. But I would say that it was not needed. Means the movie was about a scientist. But now people will say that it's his liberty. He can show whatever he want to show. So he actually went with that. But yes, I would say that if I had to make a movie on someone like Oppenheimer, it would be more about his life and everything. So but it did not go like that. So unfortunately so Oppenheimer, even if I did not like that movie that much, I would still say that it was definitely entertaining. At least for the first time when you watch it, there's just too much going on, and it's a completely different world that he puts us in. And that is of course one of Christopher Nolan's mastery, that he can put us in a world where we are completely unfamiliar about. We are, means of course I knew a lot about the movie about Oppenheimer. I knew a lot about that, but still the whole things will go on, the history, how history will play, and what that that senator from I don't know where, it's south of USA or from somewhere, he's going to come and he's going to play a villain in the movie. I did not know that. I did not expect that. And even the trailers in the movie of the movie Oppenheimer, they did not show anything at all. It showed it's a movie about nuclear bombs and all. So, but it was nothing like that. It was Oppenheimer was a movie about drama, and how there is a guy who gets insulted by Oppenheimer, and then he becomes he puts up a grudge, and then there's the whole story. It was a fun story. So it was a very fun thing, and very unexpected in Hollywood, and very unexpected in filmmaking, to show things like that. So it was fun to watch it. It was very fun to watch, at least for the first time. I would not say second or third time, I would not say that. But yes, let's see. I think Oppenheimer, I think the Odyssey would be the same thing. It will be It will be very, very, very fun to watch. Like one time at least, it will be really fun to watch. But we don't know about second and third time. Like means he is very notorious for not having like. Tenet was, people did not like Tenet at all, but I loved the movie Tenet, and especially the whole ending sequence where those two armies are going forward and backwards. It was phenomenal thinking, man. Like even the action scenes in the movie Tenet was just phenomenal thinking, and the whole storyline was also phenomenal. I would say that the ending a little bit rushed, but because I think they did not have proper editing sources or something, I don't know. That's why it became. But yes, I would definitely say great movie, great. Tenet, I really loved it. Of course, the remaining ones are. Of course, let's see what happens now with the other movies now. The Odyssey, yeah. But I would say bravo to him, and really like bravery of him that he was able to choose something like the Odyssey to make in a movie, like and it's like, of course he will have any kind of budget he wants because his name is Christopher Nolan. The same thing with Danny Villeneuve and Paul Thomas Anderson and Steven Spielberg. He will have any kind of budget he wants, but still a little bit means it's not really that easy, so I will say great job. Let's see, there's this movie Disclosure Day also coming. I really liked its trailer. Let's see what happens. I will go and watch it, and definitely I will update you guys about it as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you all.